Money making money making money.
Come on, you gotta tell me, how is this even possible?
It's easy. 1, you take your money and you put it in this secret spot. 2, you let that money grow with compound interest. 3, then you find a place for that money to go where it can work for you. 4, and then every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you join me for a wealth webinar.
I'll do it.
It's free. Plus, if you join me now, you'll get my free ebook that teaches you to get all the money back for every car you buy, drive, and own. So take advantage of this opportunity and I'll see you there.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside. Hey, you need to become your own bank. And it's as simple as changing one thing, and that is where your money goes first. I mean, think about it. Household debts in this country are at all-time highs. You got tons of market volatility. You got the potential for Social Security running out of money. You've got global uncertainty, political divide, and you have to figure out where you're going to put your hard-earned savings. I mean, this is one of those times in history where the rich are getting richer, and it is time to learn the secrets of the wealthy. But here's the good news. Every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I put on a free webinar where I teach you how to take back control of your money by teaching you how to become your own bank. So click the link below and let's get started. So let's go into the app, because the app was created after a dating site, believe it or not. So people with money and people that need money. Phone, swipe left. Swipe left. Ooh, I like that one. Swipe right. You want to go on. If you got money, you want to swipe left through all the deals. When you find one you like, boom, you're connected. How much more difficult does this really need to be? This isn't rocket science. They want you to think it is because they want control of your money. It is time to take back control of our money. I want to invite you to a free interactive webinar that we're doing to teach you how to get prepared for what's about to happen and how you can grow, preserve, and protect your wealth and get it ready for a recession or maybe the next Great Depression. So all I need you to do is click the link below. You're not going to want to miss this with all this stuff going on. Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris. So that's what it is. Private Money Club was created for you and for all of us. So I've got something special. Since you're here, you're listening to us talk to you about the infinite banking concept, I wanted to make an offer. Private Money Club is something that will benefit each of you, but we've got what's called the Accelerator. The Private Money Club Accelerator is a coaching program that takes together the knowledge that you'll need to be your own bank and puts it together with the opportunities in Private Money Club so that now you learn and apply the knowledge. Check it out. We got a very special offer for you to be part of the next Accelerator coaching program and get you into Private Money Club so your money starts working for you.
Hey everybody, it's Buff Finance Guy here, ready to show you how to make some serious gains. But not only in the gym, with your wallet too. Most people put their money in the bank doing absolutely nothing for them. But I'm gonna show you how it doesn't have to be that way. So take Andrew here. His money has just been sitting lazy in the bank. But all he has to do is change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and everything changes. Just change where your money goes first, silly.
Wait, just one change?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of sending it to the bank, you send it to your very own banking system. Your money can grow and get stronger, just like me.
It's time for Money School TV. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
He's been on the fence to come to PMC Money Take. I'm telling you right now, you're missing out on a treat.
This is the ultimate watering hole for lenders and borrowers.
If you've got decent deals, you'll find the funding for it.
The networking here has been fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Tremendously beneficial.
Oh my gosh, so many people to network with.
First day, I probably met 5 or 6 people. They show me ideas, I show them ideas. We're actually on stage about 20 minutes ago, and since then, I've already had about 20 people reach out.
There are several people that I probably will be doing business with.
I have like 15 private lenders ready to fund my deals. The people here are amazing and so welcoming.
You walk in, everyone greets you right away. No one is a stranger.
It's just an amazing and comfortable place to be.
There's so much stuff that I've been able to learn that I didn't know. I've had aha moments over and over again.
They talked about normal rates of return, not 6%, we're talking about 10%, but in a way that's ethically sound and stable. It's full disclosure, but helps walk you through everything. They even talk about it on stage of like, we've already made the mistakes, so here we are, and we're teaching you to not make the same mistakes. You get to learn from us, you get to just follow our direction and just see what you can do. I've gotten great things out of the virtual events, but there's no comparison to actually coming here, experiencing the energy, and getting to meet all of the people. Everyone is here looking to grow in some capacity. Being in this environment, it allows you to feed on that and foster that.
During the event, they had a lender-borrower meet and greet, which is pretty cool. It's different when you can spend some time, have a meal together, hang out, joke around. The people are just a blast.
It's so much fun.
The community of the Money Tank PMC, the whole crew with Chris, Stephen, Jonah, everybody, and Joe, they've all helped me out. It's been changing my life.
You're gonna learn something, you're gonna meet someone, and it's definitely gonna make a big difference in your business. Not by a little bit, but by a lot.
I mean, you could stay stuck thinking you can do it on your own. Was a lot of people that I talked to is their issue, and then they come here, and I talk to them a year later, and they've grown so much just by coming to this event.
Started at $15,000 in credit card debt. As of today, I have $550,000 out in private lending. That's what this teaches you.
I tell people all the time, you have to get in the room to be around the like-minded people.
Go. It's worth it. Just come. Do it for yourself. Do it for your business.
Take action. You got to do it.
Come to the event. You don't want to miss it.
Well, the biggest thing I hope that people get is something that they can actually apply in their lives. You know, that's the biggest thing for any of these events that we want. We want people to leave here not just riled up, not just excited, but actually going out and doing something that'll put them in a better financial situation, help their family. And for the speakers, my goal is that they go out and they impact the audience and bring something the audience never had exposure to that allows them to then fill in that piece that they're looking for. I'm going to be talking about more lease options. I'm going to be talking about equity shares. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of fun stuff today. Because again, I'm not here to teach about how to do those deals. I'm here to teach about how to invest in those deals.
Filled with individuals that are like-minded, that are at the top of their craft, they're at the top of their game. And for anybody that's an attendee, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
It's almost going to be hard to speak anywhere else but here because it was such a great experience. I felt like, I don't know. It was amazing. Nothing less than amazing, literally.
At the PMC Money Tank event, which is an epic event that we're putting together that does one thing and one thing only, makes everybody money. It brings people with money together with people that need money. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You just smash them together and everybody wins.
Wednesday, 5:30, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Going live!
All right, we're back at it. Another week, another What the F happened. And this is the week that Money Tank Orlando happened. So we are all getting ready to hop on planes. Some of the team is already heading down there, getting ready for what will be just an epic event. But, we definitely can't miss this morning, which is definitely going to be a hot and heavy morning, right, Stephen? A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff happening last night. Hopefully you all went out and voted. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that most people probably aren't even seeing. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Stephen, what's on the agenda? What are you thinking we got to talk about here?
Yeah, man. I mean, just stoked for Money Tank Week. It's always a good time. The timing probably couldn't be better also. I mean, big wins by the Democrats last night in the elections. So going to see what kind of impact that has. Some interesting choices, some interesting kind of people moving up into the leadership of the Democrat Party. So what's that look like moving forward? It almost feels like it's like nationalism versus communism, or I don't know where we're going, but politics are a mess in this country, like always, it seems. So to me, what can we do to focus on us? What can we control? Obviously, this stuff's out of our control. I don't think the government's ever actually going to save us. So it's up to us to make that. And that's really what we're kicking off Money Tank with this week, is how can we control our wealth? How can we control our future? How can we control what that looks like for our families moving forward? And so the timing of it all couldn't be better. I'm super stoked, and just a lot going on in the news for sure, Chris. I mean, the market's been up, the market's been down, Bitcoin's been all over the place, precious metals is popping up and down like the stock market, which never really happens. It's just been wild stuff. So we'll definitely get into it. I know you've been gone the last couple of weeks, so me and St. James have been holding down the fort. It's been a lot of fun with that. And I know James had something going on this morning, and you're back. So we'll dive into it for sure.
All right. Well, let's dive into What the F economy. I don't know how all of you feel, but doesn't it just feel like everybody's so busy? Right? Like you're so busy. There's just no time to really look at what's going on out there, and I love that all of you join us on here. So thank you for everybody from YouTube and Facebook and now Instagram. Thanks for joining us. It really does make this show. The show's been growing. We've been doing it consistently and persistently every year, but I can't help but to notice and to feel this overwhelming sense of just busyness. Like, every single day, it's just, there's so much to do, so much happening that, what? I almost feel like we're just intentionally distracted from what's really going on. And not only distracted from what's really going on, I don't even feel like we have our eyes, or even, we don't even have an understanding of why all this is happening. I mean, like we'll get into the elections here when we get to USA, but let's just talk about the banks, right? So I will tell you that we probably have a really strong understanding of what's going on when it comes to banks, the economy, the markets, the Fed, and also to real estate. We have a strong underlined understanding of real estate. And I will tell you, with all the masterminds I go to, all the events I go to, which are real estate focused, man, real estate is struggling. There is no way to explain it other than it is literally a shit show. If you're a real estate investor right now, you're struggling on many fronts. The market, there are more houses listed for sale than, I don't even know, but I don't have the stats on this. I'm just speaking from memory. There are just an overabundance of properties sitting on the market for sale. Now, are they still selling? Yes, they're just taking longer. But here's the second thing. So I have got properties which were supposed to close 2 weeks ago that have not closed. Banks are having major slowdowns. And there's an interesting thing that just happened. And Stephen, I'm going to have you pull up some of the articles on this, but this is definitely WTF, right? What the F is happening here? So I'll tell you what just happened. You probably didn't hear about this because this wouldn't be anywhere in the news, but banks recently borrowed $50 billion. Yes, with a B, not million, $50 billion in emergency liquidity. This just happened last week, and they borrowed it from the Fed, right? The Fed, which isn't federal at all. They borrowed that. And how it worked is they went into the Fed standing repo facility, and they bought, or they used securities, and they used money, which are all collaterally backed, okay, by mortgage-backed securities. That was the collateral that the banks put up for this. Now, I want you to remember, Okay. Mortgage-backed securities. Do y'all remember 2008, the Great Recession? What was that all about? Mortgage-backed securities. Okay. But now mortgages arguably don't have the systemic risk. There's not as much risk in mortgages, but I just want you to understand banks are putting up mortgages, okay, these securitized mortgages as collateral, and the extraordinary amount that was drawn, and there was 2 separate draws last week. Okay. Let me just give you these. There was $20 billion that was used in the morning. Now, remember, this is emergency liquidity. Then in the afternoon, another $30 billion. Like what happened? Did everybody go to lunch? And then they came back and they're like, shit, we need another 30 billion. Like, I mean, that isn't just some small amount of money. Hey, pledge up some more of those mortgage-backed securities because we need some liquidity. What this signals is a significant stress in the financial markets. Now, we talk about this all the time. And, I get a lot of people saying, oh, you're just fear mongering and blah, blah, blah. And, one guy, that I know well, his name's Tom. He's like, oh, one of these days, Chris, you're going to get it right. And he's right. Have we got it right? No, but have we been right the entire time? Yeah, it's just the timing. You can't time the markets ever. And I'm not even trying to do that. I'm just trying to explain the real risks out there. And this is just one more sign. It is absolutely signaling financial markets are having major issues. And I've talked about this a lot, the commercial debt issue. Okay. We saw this back with when all those regional banks were going down. Okay. Remember that? This is all the same thing. It's all the same problem, all showing its ugly face, commercial debt and the role that mortgage-backed securities are playing into these emergency operations. Like you've got major issues in real estate. It's all slowing down. Banks are freezing up and not closing on loans and taking longer to do everything. But then on top of that, you got banks borrowing emergency funds from the Fed, pledging mortgages. Okay, the problem child again, pledging these because they need emergency liquidity. What do you make of all this, Stephen? And what are all these charts showing?
Man, it is it just feels like we're in a world similar to that lead up to 08, 06, 07, when things really started to do some wonky stuff behind the scenes. I mean, by now, hopefully you've either read the book or watched the movie, The Big Short. That was, the guys that really predicted all that. I would highly recommend. Great movie. Like usual, the book is even better. So check it out for sure. But it just feels like that right now. I mean, look at Shane coming in from YouTube. He said, I have a loan out that was backed up nearly 6 weeks and finally gave a new closing date of November 17th, almost 2 months off from their original closing date. And we seem to see that over and over. Chris, I mean, I know you and I are involved in, a lot of different real estate deals and transactions and, are friends with a lot of developers and people that raise money and are refinancing. And it seems like everything is just taking forever when it has to do with the banks right now. Everything's getting delayed by months and months and months and months, even sometimes. And, it makes you wonder, like, is it, is the funding, the banks don't know what they're doing and they're confused? Are they scared to move forward? Is it technical stuff going on? I mean, is it politics? Like, I don't know. I don't know where we are right now. It feels similar, but also unprecedented, because when you look at the markets and where we're at with some of these, with the markets being at all-time highs for as long as they've been, that's not a normal market cycle. With gold and precious metals being at all-time highs at the same time as the stock market, along with Bitcoin, real estate is still pumping. I know it's slowing in some areas and we're starting to see some inventory come on, but home prices really aren't dropping significantly, at least that I've seen anywhere. It seems like it keeps chugging along. So everything's just up here and built and strong. But the economy, the everyday people seem to still be struggling. So it's a wonky time right now, man.
Well, it is. And, and it's just like, I'm going to go back to Chris Ash here coming in from YouTube. He's saying, I've been talking about these things for the last 3 years. And some people would be like, oh, someday he'll get it right. It's like, no, we've been right the entire time. It's just there's been outside forces. And listen, Ray Dalio almost went bankrupt back in the 80s when he thought he knew something. He made a bunch of calls and got it wrong. And he wasn't wrong at all. He was absolutely right. But the timing, and that's why people like Warren Buffett and everybody says you cannot time the markets. You can't, but you can prepare for the markets. And that's really what I've been doing. So to Chris Ash's comment, that for the last 3 years, we've been talking about these things. Yeah, for the last 3 years, we've been preparing for these things. But now we're getting really close. And it's kind of like, the music is getting louder. So Stephen, back to the banks and why they would need emergency liquidity is a pretty easy thing to understand. If you look at delinquencies, you look at delinquencies on mortgages, you look at delinquencies in the commercial real estate space, you look at delinquencies across the board. I don't care if it's credit cards, student loans, car loans. Oh my God, the business to be in right now is the repo business. I mean, the car index could tell you all about that, but the car loans that are defaulting are through the roof. So what do all these things mean? Well, it means people are struggling. Okay. The election, which we're going to talk about in another segment, is kind of probably going to show you a little bit more about what the sentiment is from the street of what people are feeling and how they're feeling it. But I think really getting back to it, people are struggling. They're not able to make ends meet. Now, you can't blame the government for this. You can't blame tariffs for this. And I will literally debate for the next 6 hours if somebody blames this on tariffs. They simply don't understand. And I'm happy to hopefully in a roundabout way try to debate in a Charlie Kirk fashion where I don't swear, I don't get angry, I just state facts, but I'm not Charlie Kirk. The dude had a memory and had knowledge far beyond anything I ever can. But I would be happy to do that. But people need something to blame. They do. And throughout history, that has been the case. I don't mean to bring up the Holocaust, but who got blamed there? That was pretty bad. Someone always has to blame someone when things aren't working in their life. And right now things aren't working for people. So they're blaming Trump. They're blaming tariffs. They're blaming lots of different things. But here, what you see the overexposure to risky loans. Banks made lots of risky loans in a time when there was lots of liquidity because the printing press was turned on full bore. They were printing money like crazy. There was 5.2 printed, out of nowhere, during COVID, for whatever you want to call COVID. I mean, you guys all can have your own opinions on that. I know what it was, or at least I feel like I know what it was. And it wasn't what they made it out to be, but it was a great excuse to print $5.2 trillion. It's a lot of freaking money. And that money went into the system. Interest rates were pulled to near zero. So money was easy. Money was cheap. And well, hey, we did what we did, right? We borrowed lots of that. We went out and we bought lots of new stuff. We financed all of that new stuff. Why? Well, because we could. That's why. And we did that all saying, hey, things are good. I'm employed. Unemployment numbers were way down because, well, the freaking country and the world was shut down. And then it opened all back up. So, of course, unemployment numbers were good. So when you look at the whole thing and you piece it all together, you don't have to go back too far. You can just go back to 2020. You can piece it all together. Why are we where we're at? Why are banks going in for emergency liquidity? Well, because we all thought the gravy train was never going to end. And you know what's happening? It's ending. It's ending. The commercial loans are all resetting. The 5 and 7 year and then the 10-year rate locks, they're all maturing. Okay, which means mortgages on these commercial buildings of any capacity are now going from maybe 3, 4, 5% to now 7, 8, 9%. And that's if you got good credit, but your credit's probably getting hammered because, well, you're probably behind on some other bills too. You see, we talk to real estate investors on an almost daily basis. We know the struggle they're going through, and it ain't good. Some are doing really well, and others are really, really struggling. And liquidity is just not easy right now. So it's just like this trifecta of things coming together that is resulting in exactly what we're trying to say. I don't mean to go long on this, but I mean, you can't ignore it anymore. You can't turn your head to it. You just can't play, you just can't pretend it's not there. You just can't. And if you do, well, it's not going to end well for you. I've been saying this for far too long. And, a bunch of people are like, oh, you would have lost, you would have cost me so much money. I wouldn't have made these returns. And you know what? I told people get out of the markets. And I still feel that's what they need to be doing. Get the hell out of the markets. Sit on the sidelines. Listen, I know the Fed's dropping rates. Okay, but rates are still really high. You're still getting paid really good interest for sitting in high yield savings. I know because our one company, PMC Wealth, and the advisors over there, they're still getting 3.8% guaranteed from banks. 3.8%. If you're not getting 3.8% FDIC insured, give a call to Stefan or Brandon over there in PMC Wealth. They're getting it. So you can get that. but yet you're still taking all this risk to go in the markets. You know, we're going to talk about Kyle Busch and IULs and all this stuff. We're going to do a lot of deep diving on that today, even on Wealth Webinar. So folks, if you're free this afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, join us for Wealth Webinar, where we're going to be deep diving in the $8.5 million IUL scandal in Kyle Busch, the famous race car, NASCAR driver lawsuit, and we're going to teach you what I've been saying for years. So kind of, you know, I'd love for Chris to say, oh yeah, Chris has been talking about that for years too. Yeah. The dangers of IULs. Well, shit, the tide's going out. We're starting to see who's swimming naked right now. And you know, IULs, you've been swimming naked, and we're going to start seeing, oh yeah, it's a bit cold, huh? Yeah. We're going to start seeing that effect of the tide going out. And this bank liquidity absolutely shows that. Stephen, before we move on to Kyle Busch and the shenanigans going on there with Pac Life, and also, folks, I'm not saying Pac Life did anything wrong. I'm not saying that's a bad company. Actually, it's a very good company. Full disclaimer, it's how these products are misrepresented, how these products are mismarketed. And some of that, well, we'll find out when the lawsuit goes through, could be in the practices of the insurance carriers like Pac Life, which is who Kyle Busch is suing, in how they're allowing their compliance to be loose with what their agents are doing. But anyway, I got to be very careful in what I say there. Stephen, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some really good comments coming in I wanted to hit. So Shane was saying, wouldn't it be wild if Chris's research of the 2026 crash comes to light? I forget the chart he used.
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember what it's called. Then he said he found it, the Brenner cycle, a timeless investing strategy with a 90% success rate. So, man, it looks like we're right on track for that 2026 crash, but we'll see what happens.
I did a video. Remember that video I did on YouTube years and years ago? It was like this doom and gloom, like it was called 2025. I missed it a bit, right? We're in 2025, finishing this sucker up, but 2026, maybe it should have been 2026. Can't time it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Christian's saying he just loaded up in Buffalo yesterday morning, delivering yesterday afternoon to Indiana, headed to Texas, and then over to Orlando. So we'll see you at Money Tank, Christian, as long as all goes well there. Very, very cool. Rob was asking, it's a good question, how about the trucking logistics industry?
I'm going to hit that.
If you start looking at things like, investing into different sectors and industries, is it something you need to pay attention to? What's going to happen if things turn in those industries? Is that an investing strategy? Like, should you be taking account of that, or you just follow the old, let's diversify into everything? And then if one thing goes up or down, and, so it becomes interesting when you start picking sectors to invest in. So
can I pick on that for a second, Stephen?
Yeah,
we've talked about this a lot on WTF. We've talked about this in Wealth Webinar and YouTube videos, but logistics, right? Let's just talk logistics. We got a bunch of logistics folks on here right now. Logistics is always a leading indicator. So when you're following where we're going, always start with logistics, because they're front running it, right? If logistics, you could even go to boxes, right? Box manufacturers. We did a whole thing on that years ago. Box manufacturers were seeing their numbers go down, and that has not changed. Box manufacturers have been cutting production for quite some time, but obviously it takes longer than I thought to kind of go through the system. Now you're seeing companies like UPS and basically all the logistics companies laying people off. Not just a couple people, lots of people. So when you start seeing the weakness in logistics, which you absolutely are seeing that right now, you know what's coming. It's just a matter of when. And it really just comes down to all of you deciding how much risk you want to take. Like how long are you willing to stay in the markets, in your 401k, keeping those S&P 500 that's been treating you so well. How long are you willing to squeeze that thing for every last nickel before your ass gets bit? I mean, literally the cougar is going to bite you. And the cougar is, what's coming. Maybe it's a bear, a cougar, whatever you want to call it, a lion. Just think of a big animal with big sharp teeth biting you right in the ass and not letting go. That's about what's going to happen if you keep trying to wring this thing out for every last ounce of return it can give you. You should have got out of the market. And would you have lost something? It depends on how you see your loss. See, how I look at money is that it's not how much you can make, it's how much you can keep. That's the real play. When we talk, to our advisors over at PMC Wealth Advisors, like we're always talking not about how much can we make our clients, it's how much can we help our clients keep. That's what those advisors are doing. That's their job, because that's what an advisor should be doing, not just trying to make you more, because everybody can make money in a bull market. Just take a dart, throw it at any stock, throw it at any investments, and you're making money. That's not the game. The game in the real advisors, where they really shine, is, are they helping you keep your wealth? And well, that's a great segue to Kyle Busch, because that's exactly what he thought he was doing, right, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into that. I just want to hit a couple more comments because they are good. A lot of people agreeing with Morgan over in the comments. Most people blame others rather than just take responsibility for where they are in life. And that's so true, Morgan. I agree with that 100%. And, it's one of those things I think back on my life, and I never paid attention to politics at all in my entire life until after Donald Trump was elected president, and I watched him get demonized because Trump was always a business person. The Apprentice. Like, I had friends that were on The Apprentice and knew Donald Trump personally and said what an amazing guy he is, what an amazing business person. He cares for everybody around him. Like, he lifts people up. He's a huge real estate guy. And then he got into politics, and you watch him just get demonized and become the devil and get called all these things. And so I started saying, okay, well, why are people saying this? So then I started looking into politics and learning and just realizing how biased and how much propaganda there is out there in the mainstream media. And, but prior to that, paying attention, I just went through my whole life saying, listen, I don't care what the government does. I don't care about politics. I'm going to do what I can control. And that's why I never paid attention to it until it just was so in your face. You couldn't ignore it anymore. But that still stands true to this day, though. And that's what we started with, Morgan, was the government's not going to ever save you. They're going to always politic. They're going to do it about themselves. I mean, this lady that just got elected in Virginia, she made $7 million in the stock market over the last few years. And when questioned about it, she's just like, oh, I don't know. Did I make that much money? Like, they're all so phony and fake, but nonetheless, love the comment. Thank you for sharing. The other thing I just wanted to add real fast, Christian, he's in transportation. He said they're not slowing at all. They're booming right now. And I know we hear that from a couple other people. So good news right there, at least to hear. And the last thing I'll mention, I did not have this on the list today, but it is good to bring up. Former Vice President Dick Cheney did pass away on Monday. So rest in peace. I know, very, very controversial political figure, very, very controversial. We won't get into that, but it's always sad, when somebody passes away. He does have a family and children and grandchildren. So rest in peace there. But all right, Chris, let's I'll keep with some more comments in a minute, but let's dive into Mr. Kyle. I
want to give a shout out to Damian Robinson. He sent us an awesome box. And if I'll have to take a picture and show it to you, Damian, like, of what we did with all the stuff. We've got like a whole top of a table with all the stuff you sent us. It's pretty awesome. So thank you so very much for thinking of us and putting that awesome care package together. We love it. All right. What do you want to do? You want to talk about Kyle Busch?
Yeah, there's a bunch of articles on this. I'll just
so many articles. But let me just
AP to set up kind of the basics of it, Chris, and then you can dive in a little bit.
All right, perfect.
So NASCAR driver Kyle Busch, obviously the Busch family name has been around a long time, very big in NASCAR and that entire world universe. So he's suing an insurance company for $8.5 million, alleging deceptive practices. So Kyle Busch bought what he thought was a safe life insurance plan that would provide self-funding income for his retirement when Pac Life Insurance Company sent a 6 premium notice on what was supposed to be a 5-year payment plan, and most of the money he invested was gone. The 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion knew something was wrong. I was like, what? Wait a second. What am I getting a 6-year premium payment for? Busch said from Phoenix Raceway on Saturday. We got on a call with the guy who sold me the premium policies, and he ran me around in all these circles, couldn't answer the questions. So I was like, this is fishy. Once Busch and his wife, Samantha, realized something was wrong, they turned to an independent firm that found their policy would expire in 16 months. And all of the $10.4 million they invested, poof, was gone. Now the Bushes are suing Pac Life for $8.5 million, alleging the insurance company failed to reveal the true risks of the policies, along with providing false and negligent representations of what was supposed to be tax-free income for retirement. So that's the basics of it, Chris.
Listen, like, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I told you so. And it's not just me. People like Chris Kirkpatrick. I mean, we've put out so many videos dissecting IULs, explaining the problems inherently with the IUL model. The simple fact of the matter is this, and listen, I'm not going to go super deep into this, folks, because I've got an entire hour and a half webinar, the wealth webinar today at 1 p.m. where literally we're going to unpack this entire Kyle Busch thing. I'm going to literally go through in detail, but also in simplicity, explain why and how this happened. Okay. And then from there, you'll at least have the knowledge, but now that this is coming out, you're going to start hearing a lot more, because I know for a fact, and I want to name so many names. I just can't. There are so many people out there pushing these IULs and doing it all in the wrong way. Now, there's a couple people doing it the right way, like Viking Financial. He's a guy on Instagram that I know, he's doing it right. But people don't understand the risks with IULs, and most of the people selling IULs, much like the person, at least what it sounds like, the person that sold this to the Kyle Busch and his family, made it sound like this is a foolproof plan. And these are how these are sold, right? It's guaranteed. You can't lose money. Bullshit. I have said this in too many videos to go deep into this. You absolutely positively can lose money. You can't go below zero, on the market participation. And I had this super smart, or so he self-proclaimed super smart financial advisor on a call. And we have these debates with these assholes all the time. Excuse my language, and sorry if you're an advisor, but you know what? Like, sometimes I just got to school these stupid assholes because they think they know what they don't know. I had a financial advisor who was an advisor for a long time. He had lots of those letters after his name. And he literally said to a client while I was on a call with them, because I said, okay, well, when the market goes down and the indexes aren't performing and you're not participating in the return and you're at zero, like, what's the point at that point? Like, and he says, oh, well, you're dollar cost averaging in at a lower cost. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, are you serious right now? When you buy an IUL, an index universal life, you aren't buying shit. You're not investing in the markets. Otherwise, your stupid advisor, who's not even an advisor, would have to have security licenses. You're not investing in the markets. All you're doing is participating. It's like a participation sport, right? Like, your kids are participating in the sport and they get a little ribbon, right? That's kind of all you're doing. If the insurance company makes money in their index, then you participate up to a certain level, the cap rate, and cap rates can be changed at any given time. So there's all sorts of things. But if you read the contract, which is kind of a lot of what Kyle Busch is talking about, the contract was never explained. The thing that they were said was guaranteed was an illustration. An illustration is not guaranteed. It is not your contract. It is part of the contract, but it is not the contract. And in these IULs, there are multiple columns that you need to pay attention to, but they make it really difficult, right, Stephen? Like, we've looked at hundreds of these things, and the illustration, all in itself, I mean, you feel like you need a physics and a mathematics degree just to understand it, but it's complicated. It's written in legal, right? So you got to understand what they're saying, and most people don't. All they are is they're talking to their agent or their advisor, and they're sitting there saying, oh, well, like, oh yeah, well, the market's averaged 7%, so we're going to show a 7% participation rate. The markets may average, like an index might average 7%, but in Kyle's case, what he was basically sold on was, I'm going to put money into this thing for 5 years. Okay. That's what he sold. I'm going to put a lot of money in for 5 years. I think it was over $10 million, over $10.4 million in premiums over 5 years. Okay. So just bear that in. The illustration probably showed for 5 years, and then it showed it going to zero. What wasn't told to him, and what all of you need to understand, is after 5 years, the premium on your illustration might show zero, but there is certainly costs. The cost of insurance inside of an IUL, a VUL, or any universal life product every year gets more expensive. It's designed that way. That's the whole thing. It takes the risk off the insurance company and puts it on you. That's the goal of an IUL or a UL product. It's the risk transfer goes from the insurance company over to you. In a whole life, the insurance company bears the risk. In a universal life or an IUL, you bear the risk, because every year your cost goes up. The older you get, the more expensive your costs get. Now, if your illustration shows zero, that might pencil because they're assuming you get a 7% or whatever your hypothetical. And I want to preface that word hypothetical. Hypothetical in a dictionary does not equal guaranteed. Does not say anything about sure thing. Does not say anything. It says hypothetical, meaning, hey, maybe, kind of like, that movie Pet Detective, or I think it was not Pet Detective. Oh God, what was the movie? So you're saying there's a chance. Sorry, I'm getting my movies messed up. But you know what I mean? You're saying there's a chance. Oh, but then the agent says, oh yeah, but the market has averaged this every year. But what happens when it doesn't average that? What happens when you have a year when it's lower? Okay, like maybe you hit your floor of 0. Okay, well, what happens then? Do the costs just end? When your premiums aren't being paid, is there any cost left? 0. So what they found is when they hired an outside person to do a review of this contract that they bought from Pac Life through this advisor, what they found out is after I can't remember, and I might have this wrong, 16 months or something. We'll nail it. I think it was like 16 months. After 16 months or some period of time, if they didn't make any premium payments, which they were told they didn't have to, the policy lapsed, which means game over. Lapse equals game effing over. You're done. You're dead in the water. You got no life insurance for your family anymore. All the money you put in is gone. And where did it go? Oh, well, in the contract, it said, do you have cost of insurance? Well, I'm sorry that I didn't read the legalese of the, I don't know how long those contracts are, 50, 100 pages, maybe more, 200 pages. Sorry I didn't read the 200 pages. I was spending time reading the Bible, which to me felt like it was far more important to read the Bible, a true statement, instead of going out there trying to read this multiple 100-page contract that the advisor should have explained to them, which they did not. So therefore, after 5 years, your illustration said 0. And you were supposed to take out, what was the amount? Was it like $600,000 or $800,000 they were supposed to be taking out? Hold on, I've got that right here. Stephen, do you remember what that was?
I don't remember the exact number, but
it was in that article. If you pull one of the articles up, it says it in there. But $600,000, $800,000 or so. Like they were supposed to put money in for 5 years. It was supposed to grow. You're supposed to be guaranteed to not lose money. And then after that, they were supposed to, after the racing career ended or kind of petered out, they were going to be able to take this income, this tax-free income, and it would be tax-free if done properly, out of this account. And that sounds good, right? Kyle Busch in one of his interviews even says, well, it sounded too good to be true. But hey, when I get an email saying that this is how it's going to work from somebody with a Pac Life email, and then I see an illustration that shows this is going to work, like, what am I supposed to think? And you know what? You might say, well, he should have been smarter. You know, I've heard this from some of the IUL people on the post we put up. Well, they should have read the contract. Really? Really? So I'm sure all of the people that buy IULs read and fully understand the contract, right?
Listen, Chris, we're insurance professionals. We've been doing this a very long time. When I get other people's IUL policies and I try and decipher and read them, I'm confused. So somebody that's not in this every single day, like how they understand these IUL contracts, like it's a problem. I mean, we see it all the time. And Chris, we joke all the time about, oh, it's it's this stupid whole life, this boring whole life policy, all this. Like
they are boring.
We shouldn't joke about that though, because this is the proof is the pudding. Like that is the safe. Like boring equals safe. So like that's huge, you know. And I did find the article, Chris. It says they lost $10.4 million in 16 months due to financial scheme involving the policy. They were expecting an annual income of $800,000.
$800,000, right?
$800,000.
Because you can, in an illustration, and let me preface, in an IUL illustration, you can show any hypothetical scenario. You can show, okay, if we put X amount of dollars in over 5 years and they get a hypothetical return or participation return of this, participation rate is what it's called, of this. And there's all sorts of things with that. There's cap rate. There's all sorts of things which we're going to unpack today that most people don't even understand. And then it can show 800,000 coming out every single year. Now they can illustrate that. But if one thing doesn't happen exactly how it's illustrated, it doesn't work that way. And that's exactly what happened for Kyle Busch. One thing happened, and it will for every IUL, because you simply can never, ever get a static return or participation rate in a market-based environment. Because do the markets ever have a set return every single year? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Never, ever have the markets done a static return. It's always up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's timing, it's this, it's that. And then there's all these things that can change in the contract. They can change the cap rate. They can change these things. The insurance company holds the little controls up here. They're controlling the whole thing because they're shifting all the risk onto you, the client. In this case, Kyle Busch. Unfortunately, he's the one, the ball dropped which we said it was going to. Stephen and I have been saying, oh, as soon as we lose the market, the ball's going to drop and you're going to see the chaos in the IUL space. And listen, folks, we're not happy about this because we are in the insurance business. Although we use only specially designed whole life policies, which do not have these inherent risks, it's still life insurance. And how the media will pick this up, you watch. They will start calling it permanent life insurance, cash value life insurance. They will kind of go away from the IUL part. And what you'll start doing is the entire population doesn't know the difference in most cases between an IUL and a whole life. They're like, oh, it's one of those cash value life insurance policies. Those are bad. And then everybody's just going to assume that all permanent cash value life insurance is bad. It ain't good for the whole industry. But it's just like, I hate to say it again. Chris Ash, you can remember this. Told you so. I told you this was going to happen. I've had so many clients start with us, and then we see the surrender paperwork come in. We call them up and they say, oh, well, we were looking at it, this IUL and doing a comparison, and the IUL is way better than the whole life. I'm like, it's hypothetically better. It's not going to actually be better. And these people have given up literally rock solid, amazing whole life policies to buy these stupid IULs because they're being missold, misrepresented. I'm not saying Pac Life did anything wrong with designing an IUL. There's lots of IULs out there in the industry, and inherently it's a product. If you understand the product and the risk with the product, then it shouldn't be too big of a deal. However, they're not sold that way. They're sold completely wrong, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today at 1 p.m. on Wealth Webinar about the Kyle Busch $8.5 million IUL scandal.
Yeah,
all right, what do we got next?
Imagine being somebody that switched from a whole life to an IUL at this point. Ooh. They must be feeling kind of silly. And Christian, to answer your question and to provide clarity around this, Chris Kirkpatrick and Chris Naugle put out a challenge on YouTube several years ago saying that if any insurance producer could bring an IUL illustration in-force illustration that outperforms the original, that they pay them, what was it, Chris, $10,000? And so far, nobody has been able to beat that challenge. So still waiting for that to happen, but very interesting.
Oh my gosh. Is there any other comments here that are worthy?
Yeah, I mean, lots of good stuff. Just pretty crazy.
And thank you all for your comments. They're really good. And we love them.
So just to wrap up the economy and kind of where we started with it all is kind of things are kind of wonky. So to add to the unknown, private payrolls rose 42,000 in October, more than expected, and countering the labor market fears that everybody's been talking about the last couple months. So like we said, man, everything seems to be all over the place, Chris.
It really is all over the place. So I guess let's segue this thing and let's talk about the USA, not just the economy. So let's transition over to what the F USA.
My fellow Americans.
So you know the thing. Sorry, doing my little. All right. Anyway, and by the way, Stephen, like your office space is looking great. You got this. He's got a brand new office space. So folks, check it out. Like that's the new digs there, the new office, the Florida branch of BYOB and PMC, and he's going to be starting to do some events out there in Hobe Sound. So if you're out in that area, you're going to want to definitely get around that campfire and go out there and hang out with Stephen and all the others that are going to be there. But before we do that, let's cover what's going on with layoffs. So you just started talking about layoffs and talking about the labor market. You know, it wasn't all so long ago. Maybe it was a couple months ago. It feels like it was yesterday for me, when there was like almost $1 million revision to the employment numbers. You remember that, Stephen?
Mm-hmm.
Where they sort of just got it wrong by like 900 and some thousand jobs that they said existed that didn't actually exist. It's funny how that works, but yet, yeah, we still got people voting for this anyway. We'll cover that in a second. But so last week,
it was 911,000 jobs.
911,000 jobs were
LS.
Yeah, just, there's 911,000 jobs, and there really wasn't. They were overstated. Whoops, rounding error. Just a rounding error, right? That was just a rounding error, Stephen, I think. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think somebody just messed up a little bit. We thought there was a couple more jobs than there was. It was a rounding error. Oops. But what's going on right now is just last week, okay, we're just talking about last week, more than 50,000 jobs were gone. Laid off. 50,000 people were laid off. The announcements came from several major companies impacting industries from technology. Oh, technology. You've been seeing a lot of stuff on the news about tech, right? All the Mag 7 AI valuations, right? Warren Buffett's onto this shit. He's got like 360 some billion dollars just sitting on the sideline. He's like, I want no part of this. The numbers and the fundamentals make no sense for NVIDIA, IBM, Microsoft, all these tech companies, Meta, like don't make any sense. But yet, here we go. Let's talk about some of the layoffs. This wave that we're talking about from last week were led by firms like Amazon. What business is Amazon in, Stephen? They're kind of in lots of businesses, right? But they're in,
I would say logistics and media.
logistics,
I don't really know
media.
where their revenue comes from, to tell you the truth. I don't know.
I think a lot comes from their data centers. You know, they're definitely a leading data center, which would be technology. So Amazon, the reason I'm picking on Amazon here is it's a really good company to look at, because you get a wide exposure of lots of different components and lots of different things, from technology to logistics, heavily into logistics, to, you know, impact on Amazon impacts not just Amazon, it impacts companies like FedEx, USPS, UPS, which you're going to find all those companies are going to be in these mass layoffs because, hey, listen, if Amazon is shipping less goods, if people are buying less goods, it's showing a major slowdown, and it's also slowing down on the technology side. Well, that obviously trickles down to, well, the next one on the list, UPS. UPS just had tons of layoffs. Amazon laid off or announced 14,000 corporate layoffs, but UPS, okay, the shipper, the brown trucks and brown planes, UPS revealed it would lay off 48,000 employees this year. Not 2026, 2025, this year, which I think is pretty important that we call that out, but also including 14,000 corporate positions getting laid off with UPS. So as we keep going down, Paramount started layoffs of 1,000 employees last week as part of a planned reduction of 2,000, and we're just getting warmed up. We haven't even got to the batting, like the home plate, to get ready to swing and miss. Like, this is just 1 week. Here we are, mass layoffs. So what is that showing you? Well, let's keep going on. You got Chegg, you got Meta, you got General Motors, which General Motors, I think, just recently posted like better than expected earnings and all these things when they released. But yeah, you're talking tens of thousands of job cuts in a week. I don't know. Doesn't sound good to me, Stephen. What do you think?
Yeah, it's I listened to a podcast with Elon Musk. He did it with Joe Rogan a few days ago, and they were talking a lot about AI and what that's going to look like in the future, and in jobs and what people are going to do. I mean, and AI is going to continue to really cut into the job market and cause these layoffs. And there'll always be somebody that's going to have to work on something and working with your hands and things of that nature. But with AI taking stuff over, I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes into the future. So, it's kind of at a point right now, in my opinion, where you stay on the cutting edge of it and find ways to take advantage of it and find ways to integrate and be part of this, or you're going to kind of fall behind and, be able to get stuck with what's left over, which could be a good or a bad thing. I mean, I don't know, but it was an interesting conversation if you have a chance to listen to it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to come back to a couple of things just because there's some really fun comments coming in, and I'd be remiss not to talk about them. Christian said, Chris, has anyone beat you with your IUL challenge? So just so you all know, back this is going years now, me and Chris Kirkpatrick came together and we put together what's called the IUL challenge. It was quite simple in how it worked. All somebody had to do, and this could be anybody, an agent, an advisor, a client, all they needed to do is show us an IUL policy illustration that is 10 years old or older. And why did we pick 10 years? Because we really didn't want to front load this thing. We wanted to make this super easy for advisors to get paid by us. So we said, all right, 10 years. So how's the stock market been for the last 10 years, Stephen?
Pretty damn good.
Would stellar be a good word?
Yeah, to say the least.
I'd say stellar is probably a pretty good terminology to use. So beyond stellar, like the longest bull run in history, record returns, stellar, right? I think you all understand that. So we said, give us an illustration of an IUL that was done 10 years or older, okay? Give us that original illustration. Show us what it was shown, the hypothetical. Then show us today a in-force illustration of that exact illustration and show us, okay, that it beat the hypothetical returns you showed 10 years ago. Now, we've put this out. We've done lots of things. We've gotten hammered by IUL advisors, who are super smart and say they're super smart. And, we put up $10,000, 5 from Chris Kirkpatrick and 5 from Chris Naugle, 10 grand. And we just put it out there. Anyone who can show us an original illustration that's 10 years old or older and a hypothetical and just show us that all you had to beat you just have to beat it by $1. So if you showed a hypothetical of 7, but the market's averaged around 9, it should be no problem, right? If you're participating in market returns. To answer the question, Christian, not one person, but how many financial advisors said, oh, I'm going to send that illustration over this afternoon? People have come on Wealth Webinar and said that, oh, I'll send that illustration over this afternoon. You're going to be paying me 10 grand. Good. I'll write you the fucking check. Like I'll video it. I'll make a YouTube video. Like the first and only person who has ever been able to produce an IUL illustration beating the original hypothetical return just came forth today. And here it is. And we just gave them 10 grand because, hey, it's got to be somebody that can do that. None. And it isn't just me talking about it. It's Chris Kirkpatrick. Combined, the two of us, we have well into the hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. Not one. So anyway, yeah, just figured I would talk about that. Let's see. So IUL is not good, Gilbert said. Gilbert, join us at 1 p.m. Eastern for Wealth Webinar, and you can make your own assumption. But Gilbert also had a really good question. Gilbert, I'm sorry to hear about your brother, but you're wondering how to find his life insurance policy. Any suggestions? Yes, there are national databases of life insurance that you can do. Now, I would normally say, send me an email, Gilbert, and I'll send you a link. But now with AI, just go on to ChatGPT and just type in the prompt of exactly what you're asking for, and it will give you the national database that you can go in, type your brother's name in, and maybe have a policy number, whatever data you can put in, Social Security, and they will be able to show you whether there was policies. Going back 20 years ago almost, my grandfather died and we had to do the same thing. So that is what I would recommend. But you don't need someone like me to tell you where to go. You just need AI to point you in the right direction. And then, Ariana, that's a very pretty name, is asking, what's y'all's opinion of the infinite banking concept? So if some of you can post in the comments what your opinion of the infinite banking concepts is, that would be wonderful. All right. Anything else that we should hit on? How can infinite banking help with all these layoffs? I would say basically when you take back the banking functions in your life, if you get laid off, you control all the flow of money. So if you needed to cut your expenses, you could just basically pause the repayments back to your banking system, and it doesn't really change anything. So I think it's not going to help for the layoffs. The layoffs are going to be the layoffs, but the infinite banking gives you control of your money and puts you back in the driver's seat of the banking functions in your life. So you're not paying someone else's bank, you're paying your bank, which you control. And because you control it, you can set the amount to be whatever you want. Anyway, sorry, we went deep into that.
Yeah, very cool. I guess the last thing Shauna was saying, a significant portion of the current skilled trades workforce is nearing retirement age. An estimated 40% of construction workers by 2031, with not enough new workers entering the field to replace. So the Home Depot has recognized this challenge and established the Path to Pro, a free initiative to help bridge the labor gap. So training people in construction. I love it. I mean, I've said this multiple times, Chris. I put myself, I paid for college working for a carpenter. So I was a carpenter's assistant, and we actually had a contract with Lowe's Home Improvement. So anytime somebody needed a front door, a sliding doors, hot water heaters, window air conditioners, all these different various types of projects, and they hired Lowe's to do that. We were the subcontractor that went out and did that work. And we built additions on houses. I put roofs on houses, but it taught me the basics. It taught me how to use a screwdriver, swing a hammer. And I've used those skills for the rest of my life. Even in real estate investing, it kind of gave me a head start when I first started, when I did my first few flips, because I understood some of the work that needed to be done. So to me, like, even on the side, we always encourage people, take our 3-day trainings, come to Money Tank, learn financial education. I would almost say to young people today, like, learn the trades. Even if you have no intention of being a carpenter, you have no intention of being a plumber, an electrician, go take a course in it, learn it, because it's going to help you for the rest of your life, one way or another. I can promise you that.
All right.
And Chris, before we dive in, I did want to mention too, speaking of Money Tank, it does start Thursday for VIP. VIP sold out. So Friday morning, first thing we start in Orlando, Florida. So if you're in Florida, if you have nothing going on Friday, Saturday, you can still join us. We got a few seats left where we can squeeze you into the ballroom. It's pretty full already, but if we need to fit a couple more people in, I'm sure we can. But more importantly, virtual. If you want to just kind of check out the vibe, check out some of the experts, the speakers, what Money Tank and Private Money Club are all about, buy a virtual ticket. We got them for sale right now. You can go over to privatemoneyclub.com/Money Tank, and we're live streaming the entire event. So you can actually pick up a ticket right now for $97. We give you the replays, you get the digital workbook, you get access to the presenters and all of the knowledge, all of the information, and it gets you kind of in Private Money Club without actually being there at Money Tank. So it's a great option. So highly recommend. If you can't make it to Orlando last minute, if you don't have a ticket, get the virtual ticket, and we'll see you on Zoom. It's going to be a really fun couple days.
All right. Well, I just want to hit on one topic, and then we're going to come back over to just what the F. But I mean, there's so much fun stuff going on here in the United States of America. It's really hard to pay attention to what's going on abroad. But, just recently you had some stuff with Iran saying they cannot work with the U.S. They cannot negotiate with the U.S. There was a whole bunch of stuff. I was just reading a long internal economic newsletter on this. And it's kind of like, we were all really happy when there was the ceasefire in, the Iraq and Iran, whatever that little confrontation war, whatever you want to call it, was ended. But now it just looks like it's kind of simmering back up. Stephen, you got anything on that? Have you seen anything on that? The Israel, it's just never ending. I mean, you got the Israel stuff, you got the Iran stuff, there's all sorts of stuff on that.
I haven't really been following. I know the Venezuela.
Yeah, there's the Venezuela stuff with the U.S.
Ramping up. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people are coming out and saying, yesterday's elections were almost a rebuke to Trump and how much focus he has on foreign policy right now. And because every day people are struggling. I mean, the promises of, prices were going to come down, things were going to get more affordable. I mean, right now it's the opposite. SNAP benefits are gone because the government's still closed. Prices continue to grow. The latest inflation report crept back up to, I believe, 3% year after year. So we got down to, 2.3, 2.5, and now it's creeping back up to 3%. So, that's not a good sign. And so, when are we going to shift back to let's get America going again? I mean, at the end of the day, I know the government's shut down, but it's
GOP stagflation, man.
Yeah, I mean, the GOP does control, though, the House, the Senate, and the White House. So it's and really the Supreme Court, too. So, it's time for something to happen, or it's going to be an ugly, ugly midterms next year for the Republican Party. And people, I think, are just tired of it. They want to say, let's get back to America. Let's make our lives better. And, healthcare's set to really shoot through the roof. I mean, Obama
just did. It's already ridiculous.
It's crazy, and it's not getting better. So let's fix that. Like, Trump, you've been in now for a full term. You're a year into your second term. Like, let's fix healthcare. There's no proposal on the table right now to make changes. Like, that needs to happen. And so, you look at all this stuff going on across the world. Like, I almost say, I hate to say it because the U.S. is so important in all of this, and it affects global trade and everything. But we need to start focusing on Americans again, I think.
I agree. Well, let's move to the final segment in the last few minutes here. Just what? What the All right, so I saved this for this. I know some of you thought we were going to cover this in USA, but I thought it was just worthy of just what the F. I mean, the elections yesterday. We've been pretty vocal about Mondami and his, just radical left socialist, like self-proclaimed socialist. I just felt like I really listen. Like, here's what I think, right? I'm in New York, but I'm in Western New York. So I'm not going to say we're not affected by it, but we're not affected by it. It's a New York City thing. And I think this is going to be a good social experiment. It's just like, I can't remember who was saying that earlier. Morgan, I believe, said something about it, but like, good for New York, good for New York City. Like, I don't say that in a nice way, but like, all of those who voted for Mondami You're voting for the government to control your life. You're voting for the government to give you things. And when the government gives you things, the government can and will take away things from you. If history in the Holocaust and the Nazis and everything hasn't taught us anything, if 9/11 didn't teach us anything, then here we are. We obviously just have to learn the hard way. So congratulations, New York City. You got yourself a new mayor. You're a socialist mayor. Everything's going to be given to you for free. I'll check back in with you in a year. I won't go there, but I'll check back in with New York City and see how all of you are liking those free buses, those free subways, the state-run or city-run grocery stores. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how it is. And you know what else is going to happen? If we didn't have enough of the business owners moving out of New York City during COVID, congratulations. You literally just gave all of the wealthy and all the business owners in New York City the hall pass to move out of New York. Finally, it's like the nail that drove you put the final stake in, because that's what's going to happen. The taxpayers that are going to pay for all this free shit for all the people who voted for this asshole are now the people who paid the bill. They're going to leave. They're going to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if Wall Street doesn't just pick up and fucking move out of New York City as well. It's going to be a really cool social experiment. So good for you. Good for you. That's all I have to say. Anything on your end, Stephen?
Nothing, man. It's going to be interesting to watch. That's for sure. What happens.
I got a pretty interesting thing, and I'm just going to share it, and we're going to finish with this because, it's just. I'm not even going to say it doesn't even upset me. It's just sad. It's just sick and sad. And I think that's all you can really look at it. But here we go. Let's talk about the socialist sandbox. So Mamdani's campaign rests on a single seductive promise to make New York affordable again. Who else said that, Stephen? Make New York affordable again. Make the affordable. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's a lovely slogan until you realize his plan is to achieve this through rent freezes, free services, and taxes that would make even Lennon check his calendar. John Lennon. His plan is the greatest hit album of the progressive wishful thinking. So here we go. I want to point some of this stuff out. So he's calling for a citywide rent freeze. Does that mean that citywide landlords are going to have a freeze on increases in their pricing? Their mortgages can't go up. Their utilities can't go up. Is that can happen? Like you're going to freeze rents. Are you going to freeze expenses for landlords? Anyway, just asking for a friend. No more rent hikes for stabilized units. The construction of 200,000 new affordable apartments. I'm sorry. Who's going to fund 200,000 affordable units? Because they might be affordable, but they're not profitable for anyone to do them. So who's going to pay for all that? And that's going to be in 10 years, and he'll be long gone before then. At least we can only hope. He wants to rezone affluent neighborhoods to require inclusionary housing. Oh, that'll work well. Strengthen tenant protections and impose new restrictions on landlords. Great. What are they going to do? Fire sale their properties, probably? I don't know. We're going to find out. It's going to be a great experiment. But as anyone who has studied housing economics knows, because this is an economics newsletter that we subscribe to, rent control doesn't solve shortages. It causes them. From Stockholm to Paris, from Berlin to New York City, every experiment in price fixing, has led to fewer new developments, deteriorating buildings because they just are not going to put any money into the building, and black markets for apartments. Economists can't agree on much, but this they do. Rent control is a disaster dressed as compassion. Okay, then we move on here. Mamdani also wants to make buses entirely free of charge. So buses are now going to be the new sitting dwellings. People can't afford to live in the apartments. Who's going to live in the buses? That's what I think is going to happen. So in his world, the MTA hemorrhaging budget will somehow balance itself. Kansas City tried this. Riverside or ridership increased, but service quality declined. You don't say. Tallinn, Estonia flirted with it and quietly walked away when the math no longer worked, and the math won't work. There's no such thing as a free ride. Somebody always wants, or someone always pays. And in this case, it's the taxpayer. So now let's move on to that. Mamdani's promising universal child care in pre-K. That sounds great, doesn't it? funded by his new tax on the rich. Let's tax the rich. No kidding. AOC is behind this. The idea sounds noble. Who doesn't want parents to catch a break? But the track record is grim. Quebec's universal childcare system was overwhelmed by demand, plagued by wait lists, and chronically underfunded. Stockholm's version became a bureaucratic maze. Even New York City's existing pre-K expansion under Bill de Blasio's nearly bankrupt parts of the education budget. But here we go. We could just keep going on. How about city-owned grocery stores? One in every borough, operated by the government. That sounds like that's great. The government runs the grocery stores. The one thing that we all need, food and shelter, the government's going to run those for you. So nothing wrong could happen here. Bring down food prices is the phrase, along with the red flag, literally. When cities dabbled in retail, the results were predictable. Theft, inefficiencies, politics, and loss. Chicago's 2003 attempt collapsed under the weight of its own good intentions. The state-run supermarkets of Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union ended up with empty shelves, long lines, and bureaucrats making poor grocers. Anyway, so I could keep going with this article, but it just, you all get the drift. And all I can say is you voted. The vote is in. And not only there, but Virginia, I'm not going to open my mouth on that one. Don't know how that happens. And then New Jersey, so obviously people are saying that they don't like what's happening. Trump needs to make some changes, do something quick, or people just need to stop wanting everything for free and realize that when things are given to you for free, there's a pay. You're always going to pay. It's just, what are you going to pay with? Well, I suggest you open the history books. I suggest you go back in time, not hard to find, and look at other periods of time where this exact same scenario happened. You won't like what you read. That's all I have to say. And this afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to unpack Kyle Busch's lawsuit. So join us. If you need to know how to get there, go to chrisnaugle.com and you just go to the Wealth Webinar. A couple of finger swipes down, you'll see it, Wealth Webinar. You get my 3 books for free and join us. There's no cost, just your time, but you'll learn something. Stephen, anything you want to say to wrap this sucker up?
Oh man, just, what the F real fast, just because it kind of sums up the whole show. But how about Nicki Minaj coming out in support of Donald Trump? Did you see this?
No, I did not.
So there's a persecution of Christians going on across really the globe, but they're talking about in particular the accidental threat in Nigeria right now. So Nicki Minaj comes out, presumably not exactly a Trump supporter, but reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship God, but then at the end, thank you to the president and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every American. It just, and she went on to say, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's not politics. Trump is doing the right thing here. So more of this. I never thought I'd be in support of Nicki Minaj on this show. So I had to throw that into a what the F moment right there. But kind of cool to see that. Otherwise, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers in a very exciting World Series, beating the Toronto Blue Jays. In Game 7, came down to extra innings, just an incredible World Series. Game 7 actually received almost 10 million more viewership than the NBA Finals Game 7. So has baseball taken back on the reins of top sport in America along with football? According to the numbers, it looks like it's right up there. It's been pushing for years now. It seems like the NBA continues to lose viewership, something we could talk a lot about because it has a lot to do with kind of the social construct in this day and age. But nonetheless, ready for Money Tank, man. Driving up to Orlando tomorrow morning early, meeting with the team, getting set up. We'll see you guys at the VIP tomorrow evening, and we'll see the rest of you Friday morning, either virtual or in person in Orlando. privatemoneyclub.com/Money Tank. And of course, as Chris mentioned, Wealth Webinar 1 p.m. today, where we dive into this whole IUL Kyle Busch debacle and why Whole Life. We don't make the big commission checks on Whole Life, Chris, like they do in IULs, but we sleep well at night. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is you, the client. So we thank all of you for being here. And Chris, thank you. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.